Where have you sent your gypsies? A long journey, an impossible place, Mother India. We left this place long ago. The legend of the gypsies says that when they enter the water of the Ganges, they all got undressed and throw their clothing into it, polluting the river with their clothes. And so they were cursed by God, saying, wherever you gypsies travel, people will hate you and poverty will always find you.
Ion Bratu is a gypsy leader and musician. His friend Vasile Ionescu is Councillor for Gypsy Affairs in the Romanian Ministry of Culture. Together they are planning a trip to India, a pilgrimage to their mystical roots, and a chance to reinforce their gypsy identity. Today's gypsies are marginal people, never fully integrated into the cultures of their host countries. India, with its gypsy myths and legends, is their closest thing to a homeland. Ion and Vasile's odyssey begins close to home at a gypsy celebration near the town of Costești. There are 2 million Romanian gypsies, and each year thousands gather for a day of food and dance. But this is no ordinary fair. They are here to celebrate their freedom, for until 1865, gypsies in Romania were slaves. For 500 years, gypsies were chattels of the state, the nobility, and the clergy. Eventually, they were allowed to buy their freedom. Each year, the fortunate could come here to the Arnota monastery and exchange gold for liberty. The price of freedom was 2 gold coins per year, more for a good musician or blacksmith. The monks collected the gold and kept the records on behalf of the king. For the gypsies of Romania, Arnota is an annual reminder of their precarious place on the edge of society. They don't belong here. But do they belong in India? Do they belong anywhere? Vasile and Ion are going to find out. Vasile and Ion move on through the Transylvania mountain to pick up another companion for their journey. Julian Radulescu, the self-proclaimed emperor of all gypsies everywhere, wants to join the trip. The emperor lives in his imperial palace in Sibiu. He sees himself as a gypsy ambassador with a mission to raise public awareness of the gypsies' cause, and he is well aware of the publicity potential of Vasile and Ion's mission.
How are you? Are you well?
I'm busy with gypsy cultural problems.
And with the empire?
Of course, the empire too.
A few years ago, upon his assumption of imperial status, the emperor decided to have his coronation in the Sibiu's Orthodox Church. He was refused permission, but undeterred, he arranged to remarry his wife there instead. After the happy couple had paraded in their traditional wedding coronets, he was crowned by a member of his family with his own imperial crown of gold coins. The emperor has a personal reason for joining the journey to India. He believes that he may be the Gypsies' savior. On a previous visit to India, he had a dramatic religious experience which he has been pondering ever since.
I heard about this gypsy legend from a university professor. Apparently, when gypsies first left India, we desecrated the holy river Ganges, and so God cursed us. He declared that this curse would only come to an end when one of our descendants returned to their roots. So when I went into the river Ganges, something happened in my head. As soon as my clothes touched the water, a lightning, maybe a thunder, it sounded like a thunderbolt, even though the sky was clear. And then, you see, Vasile, in the last 3 years, all over the world, this curse has started to break up, and our people are now being seen in a better light.
The emperor perhaps has not helped the public image of gypsies. He has recently spent time in prison for stealing copper belonging to the government. The emperor is a member of the Kolderash group, gypsies who traditionally earn their living as nomadic blacksmiths. They've now turned to scrap metal dealing, but the government demands expensive licenses which most gypsies can't afford. The gypsies see this as discrimination, yet another attempt to discourage their lifestyle. This feeling isn't new. Itinerant gypsies are a thorn in the side of government all over Europe, and persecution is a familiar part of their history. Before the expedition leaves Romania, Ion has a couple of professional engagements to fulfill. He's an accordion player, and he's needed for a family wedding. Traditional gypsy families regard marriage as an arrangement between families. The bride and groom are hardly consulted or considered. They can appear the least important people at their own wedding. Parents arrange the weddings when the children are usually 13 to 15 years old. If the bride is not a virgin, then the marriage is likely to be annulled and she will be disgraced forever. The bride will be expected always to obey her husband, to begin a family immediately, and to become a full-time housewife. The bride will never be allowed to travel unchaperoned by a family member, and will not be encouraged to move outside her family circle. In contrast to the circumscribed lives of their traditional rural sisters, urbanized gypsy women have undreamt of freedom. One of these is Liliana. Only 18 years old, Liliana has already brought gypsy dancing to a wide audience of Romanians. Ion sometimes books her to perform with his band. As their pilgrimage became more of a cultural mission, Vasily and Ion decided that Liliana should come along and compare her own dancing with the dancing of the pure Indian gypsies they believe they will find. Ion Bratu was a travelling gypsy until government regulations forced him to settle permanently. He still longs for the open road, and one of the excitements of the trip for him is to be on the move again.
Here's India, and there is Delhi. Then we'll go this way, up around here to Jodhpur. This is where people believe our ancestors came from.
Around there, around that place.
In Delhi, we will have to carefully watch our luggage.
Otherwise, non-gypsies will take it. Do they steal there?
Yes, worse than we do.
Really?
Make sure they know you're gypsies.
I wonder if they will speak the same language as us.
Their language might be similar to ours.
I think it will be pretty difficult to really understand them well.
Even in Indian movies, I can understand words similar to words that we use. For example, when we say Tata, they say Baba for the word father.
Babu.
No, Baba. Baba they say instead of Tata. We say Baba for our grandmothers. It will be good to see our ancestors and where they came from so long ago. We might not feel so marginalized in our own country. After the trip, I can tell everyone where we come from and what kind of people we really are.
The route is decided. Turkey is where the gypsy nomads first appeared in Europe, and Istanbul seems a good place to start looking for the roots of gypsy culture. Liliana and the Emperor are getting acquainted.
I started dancing when I heard of a TV audition and I had finished school. And they were trying to open a theater.
And so you just went there?
Yes, I went there, not by myself. There were several girls, and each of us with our parents. And later, it was wonderful. There were boys, there were musicians playing, and it was really fun and enjoyable.
You know, you're lucky to have met me just at this moment. The minister is a very close friend of mine. I could help you to become a big star.
Why me?
Your father and me were gypsies, and because of that, I feel very close to you.
There are 500,000 gypsies in Turkey. The visitors soon spot some of them. Their main trade is selling flowers on the streets of Istanbul. The group heads for the flower market to make some contacts. Although gypsies have been in Turkey for centuries, they are still set apart from Turkish society. The market is a graphic illustration of their separation. Turks sit on one side and gypsies on the other. The Romanians are a little uncertain of their reception. The Turkish gypsies speak a different dialect of Romani, and they're afraid they may not be understood. But they're off to a flying start.
This is Vasile.
I'm Cecchino.
Cecchino, my nickname's Fish.
You should take me away with you. Marry me and take me back to Romania. I'm single. My name's Ashego.
You are single, are you? He is single as well. Beautiful.
Will you come for my hand? You are just teasing.
India.
We are going there to meet our Indian brothers. We are Romanian gypsies, and we want to meet our relatives who live there.
Cheered by their success, the Romanians decide to go sightseeing on the Bosphorus.
From my research, the Turkish gypsies' problem is that they are not organized. As a result, very few things are known about their history. For example, we know that Romanian gypsies were first mentioned in historical manuscripts in the year 1385. But we know nothing about when gypsies came to Turkey.
You know, in the flower market, when I went inside and saw that gypsy lady with gold earrings, I didn't think that she would be friendly. And when I asked her, "Are you a gypsy?" she said, "Yeah, gypsy." And then she started talking Romani with us. I hugged her and I had an extremely close feeling toward her. They say that they have a leader here who wants to meet us. I'm looking forward to meeting him.
The flower market gypsies put Jon in touch with a group of musicians. An invitation took them to the gypsy quarter and a sociable evening. The Turkish music is disconcertingly unfamiliar, not what the Romanians think of as gypsy at all. It isn't until Jon takes up his accordion that everyone relaxes, and the evening ends in true gypsy style. After a late night, the travelers are back on the road. On their way to visit a traditional gypsy village, the Turkish musician Kamal has family connections there, and he's going to make the introductions. Gypsy protocol requires the group to meet first with the community's leader, or Cheribasha.
I represent the gypsies. I'm the international emperor of all gypsies in the world, and I represent them to the United Nations organization. What do you do? Where do you work in Romania?
I work at the Romanian Ministry of Culture.
The Cheribasha shows the group his village. The gypsies here have always been poor, but now crime and violence is threatening their stability and their future. As a marginal group in Turkey, their troublesome behavior will not be tolerated by the authorities. The emperor sees a role for himself here.
Listen, we came to meet with you and your leaders. We want to organize with you a worldwide plan, so we can all find work to support ourselves. If you listen to me, then the Cheribasha will help and you'll become very wealthy people.
Listen. Listen and pay attention to the business between the emperor and your leader. If you listen, then it will be good for you. We have to care for each other, to cherish one another, for ourselves as well as for our children.
We should start helping and looking after each other. Someday when you can read and write, like our Vasile over here, neither you nor your children will use a knife. You won't need to hurt each other by stabbing with a knife. Never. When you're being educated, you have a book, you carry a book like this, and you're well dressed. It's not good. It's not good to fight, to tear off your clothes and go boom, 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 boom to harm people.
Sana gelecek ismini vereceksin. Sen karışma. Tamam mı? Gidecek misin sen karışma? Bakıyorsun. Yere kadar böyle tumanda. Dur sen de bak. Kadar ya.
For their last night in Turkey, and with special regard to Liliana, Kamal has arranged for them to see some gypsy dancing, Turkish style. They don't seem to be dancing the same language. If the Turkish and Romanian gypsy dance styles ever shared a common origin, they seem to have moved in sharply different directions. It's hard to leave, but it's time to carry on towards the source of all gypsy culture, into the bosom of Mother India. For the emperor, things are going well. He's established himself with the Turkish gypsy leaders, but the others are more unsettled. They recognize the Turks as gypsies, but the unemployment and disorder of the gypsy village have given them pause for thought. Jodhpur, Rajasthan, the heart of the gypsies' mythical homeland and the goal of their pilgrimage. Their trip has been recognized by the Raja of Jodhpur, who has invited them to a reception at the Maharaja's palace. The emperor is delighted with this publicity opportunity, and he's hoping that it will put him in touch with gypsy leaders in the region. Meanwhile, Liliana is trying to come to grips with India.
Everywhere you look, there are cows. You know, they don't eat beef.
They don't eat beef?
No, the cow is sacred here.
That means they only eat vegetables.
Vegetables, lamb meat, chicken, all kinds of stupid things.
Oh my God, this place stinks like a stable.
It smells so bad here. It's so bad that it's no wonder that we still smell back home. Look what kind of life they have here.
Poor people.
Look at this place and think how they might get out of this tragedy. If this is the condition that they are living in today, imagine how they must have lived thousands of years ago when our ancestors left here.
It's difficult to see children on the streets, so poor, upset and sad. Who's responsible?
Everyone's responsible. If you were abandoned, I would care for you. I would take over from your mother.
Who, you?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, because I'm white. But what if I was black?
Don't you know that I specialize in the black ones now?
Who, you?
You have no idea what nice skin the black ones have.
For the next couple of days, they will be the guests at the Umaid Bawan Palace, built 50 years ago by Maharaja Umaid Singh. The emperor is impressed. Perhaps a dome might improve his own palace back in Sibiu. The evening's reception is to feature a local Indian gypsy band. Other than that, the Romanians have little idea what to expect. The party seems a little smaller than they imagined. So far, it's mainly interpreters. The emperor is in his element.
Thank you very much. Very kind. Very kind of you.
Later, the Maharaja's mother arrives at the reception.
Dacă a fost vreodată în Europa, în România.
He's asking if you have ever been to Romania. He's asking if you have ever been in Romania. In Romania, if you visited Romania.
Oh, me?
Yes.
No. Dacă noi le lăsăm o invitație, ar putea să vină în România?
He wanted to invite you, to send you an invitation.
Very nice of him too. They must be finding it difficult without the language problem.
Spune că se bucură foarte tare de faptul că vă simțiți atât de bine, dar crede că poate fi că e dificil în condițiile în care nu vorbiți limba.
Before, when I was in Chandigarh, the Sanskrit language sounded similar, but more pronounced than Romani. I'll give you examples. Eyes, nose, mouth, tooth, hair, tongue, and girl.
That is also in your language?
Yes.
In music, we had a style about 15 years ago. It was a very popular style of music that was very similar to Indian music.
It's a wonderful evening, but it isn't helping the Romanians into the local gypsy community. Eventually, Ion Bratu is invited to join the band on stage. He's never played with an Indian band before, and this is nothing like his usual music. There are a few difficult moments. Ion is an instinctive musician, and before long he's picked up on the new melodies. It's an impressive performance, and a bridge between the two gypsy groups is created by music. One of the musicians, Kalunath, is going to introduce them to some gypsies he has seen on the outskirts of Jodhpur. They're the Gadolia Loha, nomadic blacksmiths who may well be descended from the same ancestors as the emperor and Ion. The Loha are friendly and welcoming. For the first time, the Romanians feel completely at home.
Bel. Guru. Bel. Guru हो गया. Guru.
If I have nothing, I cannot lose it. Here I sit at the origin of my people. We went to Egypt. From Egypt we reached Turkey, and from Turkey to Romania, and to all of Europe. A souvenir for me, for Romania, to chop off the heads of the upper class.
Everything about the Lohar seems familiar, and they have their trade in common. Gypsy blacksmiths pride themselves on their skills. With the most basic of tools, they transform unpromising scraps of metal into well-crafted implements. Even the emperor abandons his imperial role and demonstrates the talents of his youth.
Hey, come see what I've done.
Which one of us looks so similar to you that he would be entitled to stay in your community?
I think that they are all my brothers, but particularly those two. They seem as if they belong here.
I would enjoy staying.
I would like to stay too.
The ancient Romani language is held to be one of the common bonds linking gypsies everywhere. It's a keystone of gypsy identity. Although they have interpreters, the emperor wants to see if he can communicate in Romani.
I want to ask, do you ever stop traveling and live in a permanent home? Or do you prefer to keep traveling in freedom like this? Isn't the traveling difficult with your children?
The man understands some of the Romani, but thinks the question is about how they survive in bad weather. Their exchange underlines what the emperor has always realized, the importance of a common language. If they lose that, the gypsies will lose any hope of recognizing themselves as an international group. Meeting the Lahore has been partly reassuring. It's obvious that there is a cultural link, but India is revealing some less romantic truths to the Romanians.
That child today wasn't any bigger than this bottle that I have in my hand. The little child that you took a picture with. It didn't weigh 1 kilogram.
Yes, it was very little.
Poor people should be helped.
If anything shocked me in India, it's the poverty. I've never seen it like this anywhere. We have many poor gypsies in Romania. Maybe the majority of gypsies in our country are poor, but not like here.
Exagerat, ca niciun popor din lume nu e așa ca ei.
Sunt mulți.
Nu
Aș
e,
vrea să vă
nu
completez
e,
singur.
meritul meu, haide.
Sunt 1 miliard.
Da, ei.
Și la 1 miliard de
The next morning, they are on the move again. They're heading deep into the desert interior of Rajasthan. Kalunath has invited them to visit his own community, the Kalbelias. They too are nomadic, and they're camping on the outskirts of a small desert town. The Kalbelias are traveling players and live entirely off their skills as entertainers. The men are snake handlers.
These are all cobras. We call it a sap.
Don't they have poison?
Poison?
Yes, poison.
Won't they bite us?
Yes, poison. Yes, poison. This all. Yes, poison. Yeah.
Communication is difficult, and it proves dangerously easy to be misunderstood.
Is this a tradition of yours?
Give it to you. Give him the cobra.
No. Take it easy.
For centuries, the Kalbelia men have charmed their snakes, while their women have performed snake dances. Kalbelias are a low-caste group in the Indian social system. Their children have no option but to follow in their parents' footsteps and to learn the necessary skills in snakes, music, and dance. The emperor is taken around the camp. The Kalbelias travel constantly, so their possessions are few. A small tent, bed support, and basic cooking items provide all the necessities for life on the road. There's no escaping that the Kalbelias' social position is even worse than the third-class status of European gypsies. They are outcasts, existing on the fringes of Indian society. If the emperor and his companions really do want to improve the lot of gypsies worldwide, this is certainly the place to start. As night falls, the guests are entertained. It's the story popular everywhere of a beautiful princess who marries her handsome prince. The Kalbelias are up at dawn to pack. It's a long walk across the desert to the next town. For the visitors, this is the end of the Gypsy Trail. There's nothing more to see.
I pity Romanian gypsies, but your life goes beyond any extreme. You really have a hard life. You live like you are in the 2nd or 3rd century. God help you, because there is nobody else to help you. What I have seen here is worse than anywhere in the world.
This isn't how they'd imagined their gypsy homeland back in Romania. Even the emperor is moved. His motives for the trip may well have been cynical, but his disillusionment now is as genuine as that of his companions. The great gypsy empire of which he had imagined himself leader is a far-off dream. There's nothing for it but a proper gypsy send-off. Music, as it has been for centuries, must once more be the panacea.